Welcome to the Sunday worship service of the First Church in Boston, a Unitarian Universalist congregation in Back Bay. Our guest minister for today is the Reverend Ken Reeves. His sermon is entitled, What Could Be? The music director at First Church is Gigi Mitchell-Velasco, alongside the First Church Choir Ensemble.
Welcome. I am Barbara Martin, Chair of the Standing Committee here at First Church, which is our elected governing team. I am happy to welcome all of you, whether you are with us online or here in our sanctuary at the corner of Marlborough and Berkeley in Boston's Back Bay. I'm particularly happy to welcome any visitors who are here with us in the sanctuary, and I hope you will stay and join us at coffee hour following the service. I'm also happy to welcome our guest minister, the Reverend Ken Reeves, who agreed to be with us on short notice when the Reverend Mary Margaret Earl of UU Urban Ministry unfortunately came down with COVID, we hope not seriously. Reverend Reeves is a Unitarian Universalist minister and a longtime friend of First Church, and also a clinical psychologist. He was with us twice in the summer, preaching in the chapel, and we are pleased and grateful to welcome him today. If you're interested in learning more about First Church or Unitarian Universalism, speak to me or Reverend Reeves or really any member of the congregation during the coffee hour. I have just a few announcements. Please spread the word that we are now able to offer childcare for children 1 year to 2nd grade during the Sunday service, and also that the Reverend Hank Peirce is joining us as storyteller at Time for All Ages on 2 Sundays a month. He will be here next Sunday, November 6th. Today we're going to have a very special Time for All Ages coming from the choir. Also next Sunday, which is Thanksgiving weekend, there will be a learning community. Reverend May's sermon, In Good Order, on the theme of apology, will be followed by a discussion with author Molly Howes of her recent book, A Good Apology, at 12:15 in the auditorium. Pick up your coffee hour refreshments and settle in. Molly Howes uses her experience with patients in her practice, research findings, and news stories to illustrate the power and importance of a thorough apology. We welcome everyone to join us for a light lunch, a presentation, and discussion. If you would like to borrow a copy of A Good Apology, there will be 2 copies available today during coffee hour. And if you don't see them, remind me and I'll get them over from the office. Thank you again for being here today as we gather together for worship.
Well, good morning. May peace be in your hearts. Through the energy of freedom and the warmth of love, may you live the fullness of being alive, and in that fullness find peace. Through justice and understanding, may humanity be at peace, and may all of life on earth live together in balance and peace. Thanks for introducing me, Barbara. I'm told that I'm the pinch hitter, which is fine. In fact, I'll talk about baseball today. It's good to be with you all again. It's an honor to be visiting, and I want to extend my welcome to any others visiting this morning. I think if I were to introduce this congregation to our visitors, I would say that like other Unitarian Universalist congregations, this is a support community for people on various journeys towards ultimate goals, such as love, or peace, or union. And one of the ways we support each other is by affirming our dreams, our visions, our imaginings. This has been part of our tradition. Some in the 1600s, early religious folks started to wonder, what about that Trinity? Maybe the Trinity doesn't capture our religious experience as much as seeing the divine as a unity. And they became then Unitarians. They were not Trinitarians, they were Unitarians. And in the 1800s in America, people looked at the God that was prevalent then, who decreed that some would be saved and some would not. And they thought, is this kind of gatekeeper, judge and imprisoner be the right form of God that really fits our religious experience? Maybe not. Maybe a God that saves everybody, a God in favor of universal salvation, and they were the universalists. And these dreams and imaginings continue in our religious movement and in our own hearts. And I think as we affirm each other's dreams and ideas, we're sort of like envoys of the Spirit, which I think is always saying yes to us, yes to what would be fulfilling our lives, yes to what would be meaningful. And that's what today's service is about. It's about the imagining, about what would be fulfilling our lives, what we dream of. And I offer it out of my caring for you, and I hope that on your journeys, you find your dreams, and you live with love and freedom and the full richness of being alive.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rosemary Keene, most notorious here at First Church as one of the leaders of the social justice programming. And I wonder if this morning you would read with me, join me in reading our First Church Boston affirmation as Ken has just lit the chalice. You can stand if you are able and interested in doing that. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now we have a minute or two to greet our neighbors. Up this morning, and you'll notice the text is by Frances Watkins Harper, who we heard about at GA, and some of us have enjoyed reading about her contributions. And it's about imaginings and possibilities, as Reverend Reeves was just talking about.
Good morning. I will be sharing a story of Good Night Moon by Margaret Weiss Brown. Too far. In the great green room, there was a telephone and a red balloon and a picture of the cow jumping over the moon. And there was 3 little bears sitting on chairs. And 2 little kittens and a pair of mittens. And a little toy house and a young mouse. And a comb and a brush and a bowl full of mush. And a quiet old lady who was whispering, "Hush." Good night, room. Good night, moon. Good night, cow jumping over the moon. Good night, lights and the red balloon. Good night, bears. Good night, chairs. Good night, kittens. Good night, mittens. Good night, clocks, and good night, socks. Good night, little house. Good night, little mouse. Good night, comb, and good night, brush. Good night, nobody. Good night, mush. And good night to the old lady whispering, "Hush." Good night, stars. Good night, air. Good night, noises everywhere. As we begin our journey to fight injustice in the world, it requires sacrifice, but also self-care. This story reminds us of the importance of self-care, even the smallest thing, like a good night's sleep.
humbled. In silence, the imagination can whisper its still, small voice to us. Small, but it calls us to great things, our own fulfillment and flourishing, our understanding of someone else, and our sharing with all of humanity a journey toward human possibilities. Great Spirit, be with us as we imagine. Speak to us with your still small voice. Hold our hand as we venture into the unknowns. Say yes to us as we imagine. Amen. And let us take this time for silence.
Please join us now in offering your money support for the work of First Church Boston.
Thank
I have 3 readings this morning. Rosemary and I are going to read them together. She's going to help me read them. We're going to read them in order, and then we'll have the hymn. The first reading is from Thoreau about the possibilities one could imagine for one's own life. This was a reading I had in my high school yearbook when, at the time, I was imagining the distant gleam of a possibility of becoming a minister.
I learned this, at least, by my experiment, that if one advances confidently in the direction of one's dreams and endeavors to live the life which one has imagined, they will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. If you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now, put the foundations under them.
In the sermon, I talk about imagining what someone else is going through and the support that that imagining and empathy brings. Maya Angelou comments on the absence of that. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. And the last reading is from the artist Judy Chicago, who's imagining what could be for the world.
The Merger poem, Judy Chicago. And then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women will be gentle, and then both women and men will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied. And then some of the greed will give way to the needs of many. And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all will nourish the young. And then all will cherish life's creatures. And then everywhere will be called Eden again.
And I'd like to sing together a hymn that also speaks to the imagining of what could be for the world. Hymn number 121, We'll Build a Land. Thank you. That was inspiring. Today I want to speak a word about the imagination and the spirit that supports our imagining. Imagination ranges us into a frontier where one has yet to go, like a mysterious uncharted territory on the map where there might be dragons or gold. Some mysterious hand holds us and supports us, supports each of us, supports one, as we journey into this uncharted land. With that support, one wonders, what grand discoveries might I find? And the journey begins. I imagine 4 types of imagination. Fantasy, like exploring a place one will never go. Imagining and envisioning where one could go, or what one could create. Third, imagining what someone else is going through. And fourth, imagining what could be for the world. For the first type of imagination, fantasy, I love the James Thurber story of Walter Mitty. Maybe you've read The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, the obedient, dutiful Connecticut husband who in his mind captains a hydroplane through a hurricane, performs surgery on a millionaire stricken with obstruosis of the ductal tract, and nonchalantly quaffs brandy before piloting a World War I bomber through skies patrolled by the Red Baron. Where do your fantasies run? For me, what if I was the next baseball player to hit 400 in the major leagues? Maybe I'd have particularly acute 2010 vision like Ted Williams. I'd see the pitches coming in through Little League and college, and I'm peppering hits all over the field. I graduate to the minor leagues where I take up a Zen practice, which helps me not only see, but become one with the pitched ball. And then in the footsteps of Ted Williams, I play left field for the Red Sox. I have a decent arm, okay running speed, a good glove helped by my eyesight and the Zen practice, and a bat that lights up the scoreboard. In my rookie year, with my 400 batting average, I lead the Sox to the World Series, where we play the Yankees. I know the Red Sox and Yankees, both in the American League, would never play each other in a World Series. But this is fantasy. If I can hit 400, the Red Sox can play the Yankees in the World Series. It's a tight series. The Yanks play with determination and pluck. We're down to the 7th game. Batting leadoff, I hit the first pitch for a triple to right. I score on a sacrifice fly. In the 4th inning, I send a sacrifice deep into center, scoring the runner on third. Kind of a nice symmetry. In the 7th inning, with the bases loaded, 1 out, Yankees ahead by 3, they give me an intentional walk, figuring 1 run costs less than a clean hit or a base-clearing home run. Finally, the bottom of the 9th, 2 outs, bases loaded, Yankees ahead 7-6. I step to the plate. A base hit scoring 2 runs, and we are the world champions. Fenway, formerly vibrating at a paint-peeling 200 decibels, is now hushed. They call for a new pitcher, the year's Cy Young winner, who had pitched and won Game 6 for the Yankees, holding me to 1 blooper single just out of reach of the shortstop, left fielder, third baseman, and ball girl. He's back on the mound, skilled and tired. I feel the strain, too, of the long season, but I concentrate. I scan the field. The third baseman is a shade distant from the bag. The first base coach signals swing away. The pitcher winds and throws. Not a pitch I like. I watch it go by. A fastball on the inside corner, strike. I don't mind. Ted Williams advised, get a good pitch to hit. I can also see that the pitcher still has some gas and is bearing down. The next pitch I lined just foul of third base, just missed, and I'm down in the count. He throws the next up and away, trying to lure me into a lunging and a bad one. He loses control of the next pitch into the dirt. I deflect a pitch into foul territory. A curveball misses just low and outside. It's a full count. Time slows. Each second pauses, gazes skyward toward the infinite universe, and intones a soliloquy about the human condition. I adjust my gloves, grip the rosin on my bat. 37,500 fans in Fenway are standing holding their breath. Peanut vendors behind the Green Monster are watching. Nuns across Boston are counting their rosary beads. Stockbrokers in Manhattan are clenching stock tickers in their fists. Kids across America are punching their baseball mitts. Cow herders in Botswana are holding their sticks like Louisville sluggers. The pitcher nods and begins his windup. And of course, reality sets in. Fantasy is a fun mental break, like the mind on a vacation, and our minds work hard. They need a little downtime and a little fun. Fantasy run amok, though, is a denial of reality and narcissistic grandiosity, which we have seen with ill effect in American politics. So, to be real, I can barely hit an arcing softball. I am a minister and a psychologist, merely that. But those two were once the stuff of my imagination. In high school, I found it meaningful to speak with people about emotions, ideas, and the inner life. I thought of them as things that matter. I observed my Unitarian Universalist minister seeming to deal with things that matter. I did not know whether I could be smart enough or care enough about people or be seen as a leader, but I imagined myself as a minister, offering eloquent insights from the pulpit, listening to people with empathy, thinking lofty thoughts. I could picture myself there, and it felt good. I went to college with ministry as my aspiration, studied literature and religion. I applied to and got into seminary, so I went. I had to complete a hospital chaplaincy and a church internship, so I did. I met with the UUA Fellowship Committee, and they said yes. My seminary gave me a degree. I was asked to serve a church in Ohio, so I went. And that congregation ordained me. No one told me I could not become a minister. I had advanced in the direction of my dream and endeavored to live the life I imagined and met with success I halfway did not expect. I used to imagine that I'd get an email on a Thursday saying, "Ack, our minister is down for the count. Can you come preach for us this Sunday?" And lo, what I imagined has come to pass. Going on to become a psychologist, I wrote and published a book, creating a family, all involved imagining, building castles in the air and then foundations underneath them. And when no one called a halt to my progress, what I imagined came to pass. I think our Unitarian Universalist value of human worth helps us believe in ourselves and trust that what we imagine is worthy. And indeed, worth frees. That's why the heroes and heroines of the spiritual journey of the spiritual journey mythology are of noble birth, to symbolize their worth and therefore show their freedom with which they can leave the familiar and explore the unknown. Conversely, people who are guilty stay safe and obedient at home. The universalist in me tells me there is noble blood running through the veins of us all, making all of us worthy to be free and explore. And with freedom comes energy, and off we go. When have you been free? What have you imagined for yourself? What dreams have you fulfilled? What hopes do you hope? What do you seek? Seeking has an energy and a thrill, like to journey to the limit of one's possibilities and then take another step to transcend those possibilities. That journey has power and magic. As a psychologist, I explore a third type of imagination, when I imagine what someone else is going through. Not being inside someone else's head, I don't know what they are experiencing, but I imagine. I might think, what is this person going through? If I were in that person's shoes, what would I be experiencing? It helps that our brains contain mirror neurons that help us understand someone else. And this imagining, expressed as empathy, is a gift. It gives someone company as they look around, see what's happening, and reflect. By not judging or advising, the listener kind of sets up an equal relationship with the other. And when equal and accepted, someone is safe. And when safe, people can think more clearly and find their way forward. Empathy also supports people as they feel their emotions. And then emotions do what emotions are supposed to do, which is flow on to the next emotion. Emotions provide quick information about what one is going through, and as circumstances change, emotions change. Emotions are not supposed to be dammed up and stagnant, but to kind of flow like a river, in which one patch of water flows by, replaced by another. For instance, the wife of a couple I work with was frustrated one day as she tried to order something online. Her husband entered the room, and instead of correcting or advising her, he observed, "You seem frustrated." This empathy was so unusual and so supportive, she burst out laughing. Her circumstance changed from alone and unsupported to understood and supported, and her feelings changed from seething to laughter. Maya Angelou speaks to the comfort empathy brings, saying, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." But empathy tells another, "You are not alone. I am witness to you and your story." Finally, imagination can range from one's own life and from that of another to all of humanity. Imagination wonders, where could we all progress? To what could we aspire? Such imagining has a great history. Imagining better for themselves, the Hebrews fled Egypt as Yahweh offered this promise. "So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey." In 1630, on a pilgrim ship to America, John Winthrop, who greeted me just outside this building, imagined that this colony would follow the counsel of Micah to do justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with our God. For this end, we must knit together in this work. We must entertain each other in affection. We must delight in each other and make others' conditions our own. rejoice together, mourn together, labor and suffer together, for we must consider that we shall be as a city on a hill. The eyes of all people are upon us. The American Constitution of 1787 imagines mutual support, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States. In 1963, Martin Luther King pronounced, "I have a dream." Many, through their lives, have imagined equality for women. Judy Chicago imagined everyone's needs being met. Imagined ideas are the most powerful influence in history. They point us to the frontier of what could be. We see that new and compelling landscape, the prairies and mountains. We might feel fear, realizing that to go there, we have to give up what we know. But the land of milk and honey beckons. We can almost see that city on a hill. And the Spirit provides energy that we might not have known we had. And we take steps, build foundations, and the dreams take form. Right now, we have a competent president. Our democracy is intact, which gives me hope. On the other hand, our democracy has been attacked by some of our own leaders and by a mob those leaders encouraged. Indeed, one candidate for president seems to favor autocracy and has a large following. It's like a cliffhanger. Will our heroes have a democracy? Tune in next week. It's a bit of a scary time. And at this inflection point of our history, what do you imagine for our country, for our world? I imagine this. Our country translates the wishes of our people into policy while respecting all people's rights. Our world is just, our human needs are met. We have the attitude that we are all in this together, belonging to a human community. And what is good for my brother and sister is good for me. We resolve conflicts peacefully. I imagine we have learned that when we cooperate with each other, with other human beings, our needs for love, support, community are met. I think this is a great interpersonal learning. When we cooperate with each other, our needs are met. I imagine we've also learned that when we cooperate with nature, our needs for fresh air, clean water, food, moderate weather, and a comfortable climate are met. Nature is a firm, persistent teacher and wants us to learn this lesson, that when we cooperate with nature, our needs are met. I imagine all of life on earth and living in balance and peace. As imagination ranges into the unknowns and the could-bes, the Spirit is present, supporting connections to those unknowns. The Spirit lives in connections and rewards connecting with what could be by giving us energy and passion as we connect with those possibilities. As you have sought your dreams, supported someone else, and pursued your vision for the world, I imagine energy rose within your heart and soul. And with that energy, you journeyed toward the Holy Land, the Spirit alongside, saying yes to what could be. I'd like to conclude with another hymn that speaks to possibilities. Hymn number 143, Not in Vain the Distance Beacons. extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Seeking the dreams we imagine brings us excitement and energy and takes us to new and wondrous places. So let us dream. Let us build castles in the air. Let us seek the Holy Land that lives in our imagination. Amen.